In 2016, John Cena went from being a full-time WWE competitor to a part-time one, and we are going to today tier rank all of his matches he's had since the year 2016. But of course, it's not just me doing it. I've also got to bring in the biggest John Cena fan here at Wrestling Republic, Jordy in the bank. How are you, Jordy?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Like I say, I've done my homework on this. Not that I necessarily needed to, and it was the best kind of homework I've ever done. For the past couple of days, I've just been watching back John Cena matches, and I have to be professional and not put them all in Match of the Year contender. I honestly, they're not all in Match of the Year contender. In all fairness, but there's certainly some belters, especially earlier on. So I'm very excited to cut it up with you.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. I mean, let's just start straight out of the gate with one which many people say might be a match of the year contender, and that was against AJ Styles, Money in the Bank 2016. Now, I'm going to come out straight away with a boiling hot take. I think this was their weakest of their three matches. I still think it's great, but for me, it wasn't a match of the year contender, so I'd perhaps suggest only putting it in great. What's your thoughts, Jordy?
I'm actually exactly the same as you, and I've watched these three matches back in the past couple of days. Maybe it's because of the finish. I don't know why, but yeah, I wouldn't put it right up at the top. I would agree it's in great.
There we are then. Straight away, we agree on that one. It goes in great. Then, of course, the feud continued. The beat-up John Cena part of the feud still continued as well. And in came Enzo Amore and Big Cass to save John Cena. And I think it was Battleground, if I'm correct. Yeah, Battleground 2016. We had the six-man tag team match. And it was a fun one. But it wasn't, I don't think anything is a match too notable. It was a fun moment in the feud. It got everybody, some time on it. And it was enjoyable. Maybe decent. What would you say?
I have to be honest, I forgot about it. So I feel like that's where it goes. Again, I did watch it back, but when I think of the feud between AJ and John Cena, I do forget about this match. I think of the three singles one that they had. So yeah,
there we are. Then let's just chuck that straight in. I forgot about it because I think. To be honest with you, I do completely understand that. But then we got the SummerSlam, AJ Styles versus John Cena once again. And this was the one, this was the one which I thought lived up to the hype. It wasn't my favorite of the three, but we'll get on to that. But a lot of people do say that this was their favorite Cena versus Styles match. It was a heck of a match. Where are you going to put it, Jordy?
I agree. I really enjoyed this match. I thought... After the first one, obviously the finish was there was a finish, but obviously the OC got involved. So I think this one goes straight in Match of the Year contender.
Yes.
I agree. It lived up to the hype. It was a clash of the titans in many senses, and it really did live up to that.
No doubt about it. There we are, Match of the Year contender, but John Cena, he didn't go part-time once again. He stayed for another month because he decided to compete at No Mercy. Now, if I'm being honest, I completely remember the match, but I completely forgot that John Cena was in it. For some reason, I thought it was somebody else in the triple threat match, but it wasn't. It was John Cena, AJ Styles, and Dean Ambrose. It was the WWE Championship match, and AJ Styles won the WWE Championship for the first time in it. I mean, I loved it, but I think part of that is probably because I'm an AJ Styles fan. I'm an AJ Styles mark. At this time, it was the height of my AJ Styles fandom, and he won his first WWE Championship. So maybe I'm a bit biased, but I'd say honestly, put it in great. What about you?
It's definitely between decent and great. I don't think it's in Match of the Year contender,
No.
and although I'm a Cena guy, and this is why I was interested to do this with you because I know that you're an AJ guy. So I know we'd be coming off on the opposite foot. But I love all three of these, and I do love triple threat matches. So I'd be inclined to put it in great as well. People may disagree with us on that, but
I think it's got to go there. But I mean, the praise is going to continue for AJ Styles and John Cena because we now have what to me is one of my favorite John Cena matches ever, one of my favorite AJ Styles matches ever, a match which in my personal book is 5 stars, and that is AJ Styles John Cena Royal Rumble 2017. I mean, this was like just after, not too long after Okada and Omega, their first match, and it kind of felt like this was WWE's reply to that. And I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It went a long time, which was unusual at this point for WWE Championship matches as well. So for me, I'm making a case to put it in Match of the Year contender. What about you?
I'm not going to dispute it at all. I completely agree. For me, this whole storyline that Cena went through against AJ Styles felt a bit like Rocky 3. You know, when Clubber Lang comes along and Rocky, he's just overpowered by Clubber and he has to go and train with Apollo and he has to go and train and he can't just be this big bruiser who knocks people out anymore. He has to train to fight against someone with the finesse and with the skill of AJ Styles and eventually kind of overcome it. So yeah, it's Match of the Year contender for me. I completely agree with you. It's one of my favorite Cena matches, certainly in the more, I can say, more recent years, considering it was what, however long, 7 years ago. But yeah, Match of the Year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll chuck it in there. Then up next, John Cena took part in the Elimination Chamber match. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you. This Elimination Chamber match is one of the ones where I kind of remember it the most, like moments in it, compared to, I mean, pretty much any other Elimination Chamber match in, well, again, recent years, but definitely the past, decade. Of course, Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship in it. Styles was in it. Corbin was in it. Ambrose was in it. John Cena, who was the champion, was in it. And The Miz was in it as well. I mean, there were so many great moments in this match, wasn't there? I mean, in terms of pure wrestling, I can't really remember much of it, but the amount of moments that were in it, I mean, I don't know if it's great or Match of the Year contender. What do you think?
Now looking back, knowing what we know and the fact that we've lost Bray, it's hard to not put it in Match of the Year contender because it was such an iconic moment for that reason.
Yeah,
like that's why I remember it. There was moments throughout the match as well that were really good. Obviously, you had Dean Ambrose, John Cena, and AJ Styles back in the same match again, following a triple threat that they'd been in, and Cena got eliminated like third to last. He wasn't the last in the final two, and I always kind of like that in an Elimination Chamber at that point that you know you're going to get a new champion. So could it be Match of the Year contender? Again, we'd have to look at the rest of the year, but
it was a bad year after Mania for WWE.
I mean, yeah, like we said last time, it's a contender. So yeah, I'd say put it in there.
Nice. There we are. 3 Match of the Year contenders. Will we have any more after this point? That is the question. I'm guessing not at WrestleMania 33, because WrestleMania 33 was John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Maurice and The Miz. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, John Cena proposing, I think, was the biggest moment of the match. Something which obviously didn't end up happening, but I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like this match at all. What were your thoughts?
It was one of them things for me that, yeah, I didn't dislike it, but it was just one of them things that it's like, it's on a Mania card. Yeah, like you're taking up someone's potential dream of being on a Mania card for this match, and it didn't feel like it should have been on a WrestleMania. It did feel like a bit of a way at the time of like, and we're probably going to see this start to come up as a topic more and more often, a way to get John Cena on the card.
Yeah,
and it kind of felt like that. So I didn't forget about it. So does that put it in bad?
Well, the question is it bad, or do we just pretend that this match never happened, considering they never even got married after it?
See, I watched the match back, and it's not bad. It's just not good. So yeah, maybe we just pretend it never happened.
Yeah, well, just like John Cena, we'll pretend that this.
No, you know what? No, we're cheating. Let's put it in bad.
Okay,
we're cheating. We're cheating. Let's put it in bad. David will shout at us if we put it in. I forgot about it.
Right, okay, there we are. It's in bad. Next up, I mean, this was one which I'm going to be honest with you, I completely forgot happened. Every other match on this list, I remember. Maybe I wouldn't have named it if I didn't see the list, but I saw this on the list and I had no recollection of it. I had to look it up and then I remembered it. And it was all, when John Cena came back to feud with Corbin that time, which we'll get onto in a second. But it was his flag match against Rusev. And I remember thinking, to your point, Jordy, this was just a way to get Cena on the card. I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but it certainly wasn't a good one. I mean, I literally forgot about it.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's obviously where it falls for you. For me, I did forget about it because I had a bit of a hiatus where I wasn't really watching wrestling, and perhaps this was why. But it was a bit of a throwback, I think, very much to like a Hulk Hogan Iron Sheik kind of feud. It maybe is what you would define as Vince booking. Like there was a moment where Rusev was about to put his flag into the holster thing, and John Cena like leapt up onto the platform and stopped him. And it was very patriotic to America. The fact he came back on Independence Day as well. So yeah, I mean, technically I did forget about it, so I feel like that's probably where we should put it.
Yeah, fair enough. Up next, it was SummerSlam. It was the pay-per-view straight after Cena had cost Corbin his cash-in attempt very controversially, and then he defeated Baron Corbin after that. Corbin fans were not very happy, but were you, Jordy?
I wasn't a Corbin fan, so I was not bothered. It was one of the things that I maybe questioned, even as a Cena guy. I was like, why Baron Corbin? And again, watching these matches back, it's just quite sad to see now what we know that Baron Corbin's just been released, because the commentator at one point genuinely said, like, this is the present against the future in that match. And
Wow.
now we're in a position not that many years later where he's been released by the company. So it was when I was watching that match back, it was just I was kind of clouded with the thought that Baron Corbin's now been released, and obviously whatever they had planned for him, whatever the high heights were, didn't quite go that way. But decent, maybe. The match was fairly short. I know. I probably put it in. I forgot about it, to be honest, because again, I wasn't really watching wrestling a great deal at this time. It didn't stick out for me when I came back that people said go and watch this match. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I forgot about it. That makes a lot of sense to me. But one match which I did not forget about was the passing of the torch. No Mercy 2017, John Cena, Roman Reigns. Now, this feud, it felt like a big deal at the time. Of course, later on, I think they had a match which felt like a bigger deal once Roman Reigns was the tribal chief. But I thought their first match, Reigns versus Cena, was actually a really great match. I really did enjoy it, maybe more than other people did. I definitely wouldn't say match of the year contender, but definitely either great or decent. Where would you put it?
I would put it in great, personally, just given the build up and the feud.
Yeah.
If we're marking it on just the match, maybe not, but the build up and the feud, the promo exchanges, and I think when you look at, maybe it wasn't received well at this point. No, I'd say we were still in a bit of John Cena sucks era at that point. Let's go Cena sucks. So he was very divisive, and people didn't want Reigns. And Reigns was yet again kind of being pushed after beating The Undertaker, I think, that year. So
Yeah.
it was somebody who they didn't want, who had been over pushed, maybe, that you could say, in John Cena, passing the torch to Roman Reigns, who was now the new one that was getting over pushed. So I feel like at that time there was a lot of backlash about both of them too. So maybe it wasn't a great sense to book it, but I thought that the match was great, and I thought that the promos and the build-up was phenomenal for this.
I completely agree with you. Then we went on to Survivor Series. We had the traditional 5v5 Raw versus SmackDown tag team match. Team Raw was Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, and Triple H against Team SmackDown live. Don't forget the live. Bobby Roode, John Cena, Randy Orton, Shane McMahon, and Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, this match, it almost feels like a fever dream now. You're like, what? I mean, I remember it didn't quite live up to the hype, but it was also, I'd say about decent. What did you think?
Decent, yeah, I completely agree that. Can't say too much about these kind of Survivor Series matches, but I do enjoy them. I do enjoy a bit of a kind of elimination tag situation, so I throw it in decent. I didn't forget about it. I do kind of remember this match yeah, not massively.
Then up next, we had the Royal Rumble 2018. John Cena made an appearance in it. We had Adam Cole from NXT showing up. There was quite a few people from NXT showing up. I remember this being a really fun Rumble, mainly because I was completely and utterly shocked that Shinsuke Nakamura won it. I mean, what did you think?
I completely agree. That shock. I'm not surprised that you were shocked. I was shocked. The whole world was shocked. The final three, if I'm not mistaken, was Cena, Reigns, and Nakamura. Now, I'm not a betting man. I'm not a gambling man. But if I was, that Shinsuke wouldn't have been where I was putting my money when you've got John Cena and Roman Reigns left in the final three. So, yeah, I'd put it in decent.
Fair enough. Yeah, I do. I do agree with that. I mean, yeah, decent or great. Let's go with decent then. But then we went on to Elimination Chamber. John Cena was in Elimination Chamber once again. I mean, it wasn't as good as the previous year. Roman Reigns won it. Nobody wanted Roman Reigns to win it. Also, I don't think many people wanted to see Roman Reigns and Cena back in the same ring. So, close again. I mean, Braun Strowman basically just squashed everybody, and then Roman Reigns squashed Braun Strowman. Elias, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and Miz were also in it. This wasn't up there for me.
No, me neither. It was again a building a feud that I wasn't massively invested in Cena and Elias, I think, because Cena had eliminated Elias in the Rumble, I believe, and then in Elimination Chamber, these two were in it together. And yeah, it was just it's not a chamber that sticks out for me. I can certainly say that. So I would probably chuck it in. I forgot about it, in all fairness.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Then up next, it was Fastlane, and John Cena just thought to himself, I'm going to have another Elimination Chamber match, but this time it's going to be without the chamber. It's going to be a six-pack challenge. And I can't really remember. I think the story wasn't. Yeah, the story was John Cena was trying to find a way to WrestleMania and he wasn't able to find one. But how he managed to sneak himself into both the Raw and SmackDown six-person matches, I don't know. But Styles defeated Corbin, Ziggler, Cena, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. This match was a lot of fun. It was. I still don't really know why Cena was in it, but it was really fun, and that's what I remember it for being.
I agree, and I know that you can not be a big fan of multi-person matches. So it's
there was only six. There was only
no.
Six.
That's what I mean, though. Even with six, though, it can be tricky. It can be tricky to get it right. But I think they did on this occasion. I agree. I'd be even inclined to put it in great.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, there we are. I'll back you on that one. Then up next, John Cena couldn't find anybody for WrestleMania. He got to WrestleMania. He challenged The Undertaker. He said he was going to just sit in the crowd if The Undertaker didn't show up. The Undertaker did show up, and I hated it. I had all these ideas of what a great Undertaker versus Cena match would be like at WrestleMania. The story, I just didn't really connect with me. And I'm going to be honest with you. I pretend it never happened.
Oh, ouch. Ouch. I don't know about that. I agree in the sense of like it under-delivered in what we thought a Taker versus Cena WrestleMania match could have been. But at that time, I think, especially now I've looked back at the Undertaker documentary, I think Cena was the perfect man for the job to just kind of get Taker back in a ring, just have a quick, short match, get everything right, and get a bit of confidence back in him. And I did kind of like the story. I don't think he should be in a pretend it never happened. But if you want to put it there, I'll concede on this one.
Should we put it in bad then instead? Should we move it up one?
I mean, in terms of a wrestling match, it is a bad match. Yeah, so I agree with that. It was a squash, wasn't it? So. It's just a classic squash, which, to be honest, I'm not a fan of seeing happen to John Cena.
And I can't remember what it was. One of the big moves they messed up in it too, where it was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was something where it was one of the moves which was setting up to a bigger move, and they just completely botched it. Right. And it was like, oh dear, they are starting to get on a little bit, aren't they? But there we are. Let's chuck that one in bad then. See if the comments disagree with me. Maybe I'm being too mean. Up next, we had the greatest Royal Rumble. And we spoke about this match the other day, Jordy, but we both forgot about it. Triple H, John Cena. I've since gone back and I've looked at it a little bit more. It was, you know, I mean, it was, I think it's the definition of a decent match. It was fine. It was enjoyable, but there was no real story behind it, and therefore you weren't particularly invested.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Two iconic names thrown in to be on the card, I think was the case here. And yeah, it was decent. It was decent. I've gone back and I've rewatched it. It could have been more if we were more invested. And to be honest, had we just been more invested, the actual match itself may have found its way up to great. But it's because I didn't really care about why. I was just happy to see them two wrestle each other, and that's not really fair. So I think, yeah, decent's a fair place to put it.
There we are. Then up next, we had another random match. I mean, this one had a bit more of a story, but it still wasn't much. Bobby Lashley and John Cena taking on Elias and Kevin Owens. I mean, this just sounds like one of those matches which kind of just belongs in. I forgot about it.
100%. I did forget about it. Like, it's not. It was just, again, we were playing Let's Get John Cena on the card, and I don't think the match delivered in the same sense that John Cena and Triple H did, in all fairness. That was a better match. So that's why I think that's crept up into decent. And this is, I forgot about it.
Fair enough. Then, of course, the pandemic hit. Everybody was stuck in their houses. The crowds disappeared. It was empty arena. And we had The Fiend versus John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match. Now, if I'm being honest, at the time, I loved the Boneyard match between between AJ and Taker. The next night, this one, I didn't like. I thought it was too weird. I thought it was too bizarre. And I was like, yeah, thumbs down from me. Fast forward a couple of years. I mean, it's become a bit of a classic. And not only that, but if I'm going to go back to watch any of the matches from the pandemic, this is actually probably going to be one of two I go back and watch. So with that thought, thinking, I mean, it might just be a match of the year contender now. What are your thoughts?
I think it belongs in match of the year contender, in all fairness, when you look at the innovativity. I don't know how innovative it was. I just think it was great. I was confused at the time, but I think, like great art, sometimes it takes time to appreciate it. I definitely didn't dislike it at the time. And wrestling is always an art form, but I think this particularly was a form of media and just something that I know we'll never really see again in the same sense. I just think it's going to be iconic. I think this is a moment in history. I think it was a match that will always be looked back on and always be spoke about. And like I keep talking about art, that is what art is. It's always spoke about. Everyone has a different opinion on it. And I think this match sums that up. So I would put it in match of the year contender. One of my favorite matches of all time, just because of how different it was. Yeah, it's strange because it's like one of them things. It's like, do you class it as a match because of how different it was, or does it just fall into something else, a short film?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is one of those where it grows on you over time. It really, really does. Because like I said, I didn't like it at first. Now I look back on it very, very fondly. Up next, we had Roman Reigns versus Cena. This was, of course, when Roman Reigns was the tribal chief. It was at SummerSlam 2021. I thought this match was, I mean, I don't know whether I put it in decent or great. I thought it was, like, good, but it just wasn't as good as their previous one, in my opinion. But what's yours, Jordy?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't as good technically in the ring, because I think you could tell that Cena at the time, he was a lot more part-time than when he was part-time last time. And he was actually kind of fairly wrestled quite a lot, to be honest, on the kind of Roman Reigns schedule now. Do you know what I mean? So I would say that the last one was probably better, but again, it was great to see Roman go toe-to-toe on the mic in this one. And I really felt like Roman could at this point. Back in the last one, it's kind of iconic how much Cena kind of showed him up in these one-on-ones battles when they had the mic in the hand. But Not this time. This was the tribal chief. Him talking to the camera, him talking to Hollywood and saying that he shouldn't have come back. I loved all that. I will put it in great, but it's probably biased in all honesty. If that's so, yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, no, you know what? We'll check it in great. We'll see what the comments think, right? But I mean, I do have a lot of thoughts on this next match, right? I was there live. I think John Cena versus Austin Theory was John Cena's potentially most. I don't want to say it's his worst match ever, but I think the effects of it, the storyline, and when you put all that together, especially at WrestleMania, I do think it's his worst ever. Because the match was nothing, right? It was slow. It didn't do anything. I was there. I was hyped for it. It completely and utterly underdelivered in every single way. But the reason why I hate this match was John Cena over the years has been so good at putting talent over. John Cena, and I think he knows it, made a huge mistake in this storyline, and he really screwed over Austin Theory. He buried him way too much to the point of a win against Cena actually didn't save him. He was still buried even after beating Cena. So I think that this is the one blemish when it comes to Cena putting over talent, because I actually think Theory came out of this feud looking 10 times worse despite beating Cena. The match was nothing special. I despised it, and I truly pretend it never happened.
I agree with everything you said. I wish I didn't, but you're absolutely right. Cena's always been good. Like Roman, he tore Roman a new one on the mic, but when it came to the match, he always looked like he was putting them over, and he never did it to a point. It was always, you can't beat me. You're not better than me. And with Theory, he was like, it doesn't even matter if you are, they're still not going to care. And it was so true. That's the thing. Whether we can blame Cena or not for it being true, that's a different thing. But we can blame him for saying it and putting it, because maybe it was a penny dropped moment for a few people that went, oh yeah, even if he wins, I still don't care. And that's not good. Not good for the sake of the match, not good for the sake of Theory. And there's something about Cena and the way he's portrayed himself since that point. I don't think beating Cena is much of an achievement right now. I'm not saying that won't change within this farewell tour, but he very much portrays that he's over the hill and that he doesn't have much left in him. He hasn't won in X amount of time. So I think this was the first one where I was really like, yeah, who cares if you beat Cena? Like, I might be able to beat him at this point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the big achievement that it once was. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely pretend it never happened for the sake of Theory.
Yeah, certainly. It was so bizarre. It really was. I forgot you said that line as well. It doesn't matter if you beat me. It's like, oh.
Yeah, he said he said it's a lose-lose situation, didn't he? If you go out on Monday Night Raw having beat me, they still won't care. That's what he said, something like that. And it was like, oh damn, you're so right as well, John. And like, I think a lot of people now realize how right you are, and we're in trouble now. He's still not recovered.
No, years later. I mean, then up next, he took a while off. See, he realized he made a mistake, but he came back. He came back for another tour, and he teamed up with LA Knight, to take on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. I mean, this match wasn't that long ago, but I actually can barely remember it. I mean, what's your thoughts?
That's not true for me. I do remember it.
Oh, okay.
But again, so this is a bias for me, probably, because as much as I'm a Cena guy, people that watch often will know I'm a very much an LA Knight guy as well. I dressed as him once, and it wasn't even Halloween. So when these two kind of started working together, I was happy. Bit gutted because I'd love to see them go back and forth in a promo situation. But I very much remember John Cena trying to lift LA Knight's hand, and then LA Knight lifting John's hand, and I remember that. But John didn't do much. He did very little in this match. He just got beat up, which again goes back to my point of what I was saying. If like he just seems to show up, get beat up now, and I don't like that. So
yeah,
I'll put it in decent, I guess, but If you forgot about it, mate, then
Yeah,
I guess that's
we'll
where it
go
goes.
decent. We'll go decent, to be fair, because yeah, there was nothing bad about it. There was, I do remember the LA night scene. It was a moment. It was fine. Yeah, let's do that. Up next, I mean, this one's going to be hard to place. His final match, right, that he's had on a PLE since, and that is against Solo Sikoa. I don't know. The match was fine. It put Solo Sikoa over. It made Solo Sikoa look good, but then they didn't capitalize on that at all until way later. It was, I don't really know what to say about it.
It's a tricky one for me, this, because again, I just think it was at a point, and I remember going into it when, yeah, Cena might have said what he said to Theory about, yeah, you can beat me and people still won't care. Like, that's still in my head, and I was thinking it about Solo as well, because at this point, like I said, Cena had kind of come back and done a run, and he just wasn't coming over as a guy that looked like, all right, yeah, good, big whoop if you beat him. You know what I mean? Like, we'd seen Solo beat probably bigger and better people. I just don't think it did a great deal for Solo. Like, the whole lost his voice thing,
Oh, yeah.
it just wasn't great. And like, I want him to be able to put talent over. And for him to be able to put talent over, he needs to look like a formidable opponent. And he didn't against Solo. So I would be even inclined to put it in bad. But
You know what? I agree.
for those reasons, not because of the match itself, because again, there was nothing wrong with it, but it was if for the reasons of like, it just didn't do anything.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it was fine to your point, but also, I mean, the build up to a match and how how the story is told throughout the match is a big part of the match. So the moves can be fine. That doesn't make it a good match. I actually think bad is completely fair. I mean, going through this, you know what, Jordy? It's made me a bit depressed about the finish of Cena's career because it really has just gone like from match of the year contenders all the way down. Hopefully, his year-long retirement tour is going to be a bit better.
I don't know why either. I can't put my finger on what it is. It's just there's ever since so Cena beat Triple H was the last time he won on a PLE.
Wow.
And that was at the Greatest Royal Rumble in 2018. So it's been 6 years since he's won on a PLE. We're about to go into 2025, so nearly 7 in a singles match. So how on earth are we supposed to believe that like him putting someone over is supposed to rocket them and like it's tricky. We're in a strange situation, and that's why I'm so interested in the farewell tour and how they're gonna play it, because there's so many avenues and ways they can go down. And I'm just intrigued to see which ones they choose, because we can't have all the feuds that we want. That's the thing. I think if you got a bunch of people together, you would probably get about 15 names of people that they wanted to feud with Cena within 12 months. So, like, which avenues they choose is going to be interesting, but I'm here for it, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, I almost am thinking perhaps he does need to win another world title. Maybe he actually needs to like quite early into the run, have a few big wins, win the world title, shock everybody, get the record, and then when he does put somebody over towards the end, it'll mean a hell of a lot more than if he just comes in and loses in the title match.
Could he win? Could he win a world title in the Elimination Chamber? That's something that I've been wondering.
Oh,
Well, if you look at, but like, think how many Elimination Chamber matches we've just spoke about. He's been involved in a couple, and it could be a way for him to, I don't know, you capitalize, don't you? You don't necessarily have to beat one person in a one-on-one match. It's something that if you play your cards right and you end up in the final two, you could get a quick pin and win it. I just don't know. Or is it a slow build? Is it
I think it's a slow build.
he
I
can't
reckon
do it straight
win.
away? He needs to, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's two ways you could do it. One thing you could do is you could have him win the Rumble. Everybody be like going into the match with Gunther or Cena, you're washed. You've got no chance. You're too old. All of this thing. You've not won a PLE match in this long. You're facing somebody who's not lost one in this long. You're going to lose. And then Gunther, you know, gets overconfident. Cena beats Gunther at Mania, wins the world title, has a run, has quite a few defenses. And then maybe Gunther or Braun Breaker or whoever it is, perhaps Gunther, I think winning it back could be the move, beats him for the title. And then they'll look a hell of a lot better. But also Cena will look believable again. Plus, it would be a heck of a good moment having him get that record at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's that moment I don't know if they'll pass up on, because obviously there's an avenue. Does he do look at going down the Intercontinental route and getting him to become a Grand Slam because it's the only one he's missed? But if you had to choose the two, would you rather be one who's one of one or one of many Grand Slam champions? So I just feel like that's the moment they'll want to bring. However they get there, I'm very interested to see, because if it's Gunther, I think we'd need a moment in the build up to Mania where Cena beats someone pretty well established, like a Bronson Reed, and then
Yeah.
Gunther's like, oh right, okay, this
Yeah,
isn't
but you
gonna
could
be
also
as
just
easy as I
have
thought.
Gunther underestimating him.
Yeah,
completely. Like
true.
writing him off,
And
everybody
naive,
writing him
like he
off.
did to
and-
Sammy, like he did to Sammy. Yeah.
Exactly. And perhaps that's Gunther's weakness. The other thing you could do, to your point, you could have Braun Breaker's IC title run now going for quite some time. And then him like retain it at Mania, go through Mania, all of that. Cena win the world title at Mania. And then perhaps at SummerSlam or at the retirement event, who knows? Perhaps at SummerSlam and do something else and for the retirement event, because you've already established him as looking good again. Perhaps at SummerSlam do title versus title, world versus IC. And that's when he loses it to Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker then gets past the torch. And you've got double champion.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Exactly. Who's the torch getting passed to? Is there going to be a Cody moment? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like the torch was passed when he helped him at Mania and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm interested.
Absolutely. I mean, the ideal thing I think that we can agree on is they need to establish him as looking good quite quickly, right? Whether that's WrestleMania or before, you need to establish that first half of this year-long run needs to be dominance from Cena, right? It needs to be the prime Cena all over again.
That can just be booked as well. That can just be booked in, like without a match, in the sense like he can come back and convince us that like I'm fresh again. I'm feeling the best I've ever been.
Wins.
Oh, I think he'll get them as well. But I think that he's that good that he could do it in 4 weeks. Whereas for someone else, it might take 8 weeks for them to convince us. But if we got 4 weeks of Cena matches back to back and he showed us he was quick, he was fast, he was agile, he's back and he wants that world title, I don't think it'd take that long to convince the fans that he's capable of it.
No, that's a good point. Personally, I want to see 6-7 months of dominance, then for him to lose the world title, then for him to have like maybe 1 or 2 more wins, then to take 1 or 2 more losses on the way out too. So you could put over 3 or 4 different people, but he would also look good enough to the point where it would benefit them, unlike Solo, Sikoa, and Austin Theory, as long as he doesn't say to them, it's not going to mean anything if you beat me.
Yeah, probably avoid that.
Probably not best to revisit, but we'll pretend it never happened. Anyway, on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe if you guys want to see more of these. Thank you, Jordy, for joining me here today, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.